Hi guys, today I'm going to be giving you all an introduction to the topic of states of matter. So first let's look at this graph towards the left. Now we're going to start off at a temperature that's below 0 degrees Celsius. So this can be -1, -2, -3. So whatever temperature you have is below 0 degrees Celsius. So any temperature below 0 degrees Celsius is going to be ice, right? If you have H2O. Now imagine that you have this ice and you're just keeping it outside at room temperature, and this ice was obviously going to start to melt, right? And its temperature is going to increase. So as the temperature increases at 0 degrees Celsius, it's going to be melting. So from A to B, the temperature of the ice is increasing, and from B to C, it's going to be melting. Now from B to C, as you can see, there's a straight line over here. This shows to you that the temperature is constant. Now the temperature over here is constant because that energy that's being supplied is used to break the intermolecular forces and bring about that change of state. So at point C, whatever substance you have is going to be a water now, right? So after that, if you continue to heat this water, the temperature is going to increase, and when it reaches 100 degrees Celsius, it's going to boil. So between D and E, the temperature is again going to be constant because the change of state is occurring. And between E and F, you're going to have a temperature that's above 100 degrees Celsius, so it's going to be steam. So this is the first diagram that I wanted to discuss. Now moving on to the diagram on the right hand side. Over here, I've drawn 3 white lines to represent the different states. So you have solid, liquid, and gaseous state. Now if you are going directly from a solid to a gas, if there's no liquid state in between, this process will be called sublimation. The reverse of this process, going from a gas to a solid, is called deposition. As you can see, all the arrows going downwards are dotted, and all the arrows that are going upwards are solid lines to make things easier for you. Now, if you're going from a gas to a liquid, it's going to be condensation. And if you're going from a liquid to a gas, it's going to be vaporization. If you're going from a solid to a liquid, it's going to be melting. And if you're going from liquid to solid, it's going to be freezing. So these are the basic processes, and you need to know what they mean. Now let's talk about melting in detail. So a solid is going to melt when sufficient energy is provided to break the intermolecular forces of attraction. Now solids have different intermolecular forces of attraction between them, and in order for you to have a change of state, these forces of attraction need to break. And the heat energy that you provide is going to help break those molecular forces. And because of that, the molecules are going to be able to move around, and the melting point is going to indicate the strength of intermolecular forces. Now let's talk about the process of vaporization. So in a liquid, the molecules are going to be in constant motion. Previously, we were talking about how in a solid, the molecules are going to be in their fixed positions and there's going to be little movement. In a liquid, things are going to be a little bit different. So the molecules are going to be constantly moving, right? Now, some of them are going to have sufficient energy to overcome these intermolecular forces of attraction. And these are usually the ones at the surface. So these are going to have enough energy to overcome these intermolecular forces, and they're going to escape from the liquid into the vapor phase, right? So now let's look at a few factors that affect this rate of vaporization. The first one is temperature. So if your temperature increases, the molecules are going to have more kinetic energy. Because of that, they're going to start vibrating faster, especially the ones that are going to be at the surface. And these are going to escape out of the surface of the liquid. So because of that, the rate of vaporization is going to increase. Now let's talk about the surface area. So if there's more surface area in a liquid, for example, if you have container A and container B, as you can see, in container A, there's more surface area, and in container B, there's less surface area. So if you keep these out in the sun, then container A is going to have a greater rate of vaporization because it has a greater surface area. So because it has a greater surface area, more molecules are going to be exposed at the surface, and these molecules are going to gain more energy and they're going to escape, as compared to B, which has a lesser surface area, so less molecules are exposed. So if your surface area of your container is more, that means the rate of vaporization is going to increase. Now let's talk about the pressure. So the lesser your pressure is, the greater the rate of vaporization. Because if your pressure is higher, the molecules are going to be compressed, they're going to be closer together. Whereas if the pressure is lower, the molecules are going to be further apart from each other. So it's going to be easier for them to escape. Now let's look at this diagram over here. This is what you would call a closed container. because there's a lid at the top and there's really no place for the molecules to escape from. And this is a liquid, and you are heating this liquid. So what happens over here is when you're heating the liquid, the molecules are going to gain a certain amount of energy. These bubbles over here, this represents the molecules vaporizing. And what's going to happen is, since they don't have anywhere to escape from, they're going to come into contact with the surface over here, and they're going to condense and they're going to form water droplets. So in this container, vaporization and condensation are taking place at the same time. So when rate of vaporization becomes equal to the rate of condensation, you can say that this entire system is in equilibrium. Now we're going to be taking a look at the term vapor pressure. So like we discussed previously, if you have a closed container and you're heating it, the molecules, some of them, are going to gain kinetic energy and they're going to escape and break free from the surface of the liquid. However, since there's a lid at the top of the container, they're not going to be able to escape. So these molecules are going to remain in the separate vapor phase. And these are going to exert some sort of a pressure, which is known as vapor pressure. So just to recap, vapor pressure is a pressure that is exerted by those molecules that escape from the surface of the liquid to form a separate vapor phase above the liquid. And this only happens in a closed system, so you need to have some sort of a lid at the top of your container. Now let's take a look at the term saturated vapor pressure. Now, saturated vapor pressure refers to the maximum vapor pressure that can be exerted. And the magnitude of this depends on the type of liquid. Now, the type of liquid you have is going to affect the type of intermolecular forces. So, the type of intermolecular forces are also going to determine the value of the saturated vapor pressure and also the boiling point. Now, saturated vapor pressure, at a point where saturated vapor pressure is equal to the external atmospheric pressure, a liquid is going to be boiling. Now, let's take a look at two examples. This is going to be situation A, and this is situation B. So in situation A, you have a liquid, over here water, which is being heated. And in situation B, you also have the same water, which is being heated. So the type of pan is the same, the type of liquid is the same, there's no impurities over here. Now in type A, it's going to be in a city that has a higher temperature, so it's going to be a hotter city. Whereas type B is going to be in mountains, which is normally cooler, right? So at the top of a mountain, the pressure is going to be lower. Whereas if you're in a city, the pressure is going to be higher, right? So if the pressure is going to be higher, then in order for a liquid to boil, like we discussed previously, the saturated vapor pressure needs to be equal to the external atmospheric pressure, right? So it's going to take, since there's a higher pressure in a warmer city, you're going to need a greater pressure to be able to match up to that, right? So you're going to heat your liquid for longer to match that pressure, and because of that, the water is going to boil at a greater temperature. Whereas in situation B, the pressure at the mountains is going to be lesser. So the pressure that's going to be needed for the saturated vapor pressure is going to need to be lesser, right? So you're going to need to supply it with a lesser amount of energy, and because of that, the boiling point over here is going to be approximately 93 degrees Celsius. So the boiling point of water at the mountains is going to be a lot lesser than the boiling point of water in cities. Now we're going to be talking in detail about the gaseous state. So if you have a gas, it's going to be mostly empty spaces. So when I say that we have 1 dm cube of gas, we're mainly talking about the volume of the container. Because the actual molecules of the gas that you have are going to take up very little space as compared to the total volume of the gas. And when I say total volume of the gas, I'm referring to the volume of the container that it's in. So let's take a look at a few calculations. If you have 1 mole of H2O, so if you take out the MR, you're going to get 2 plus 16, which is going to give you 18 grams of H2O, right? So the mass of H2O that you have right now is 18 grams. If we use the formula mass is equals to density times volume, we're going to get the volume as 18 centimeter cube. So if you took that gas and you condensed it, you would get 18 centimeter cube of water. However, we've also studied that 1 mole of any gas at standard conditions is going to occupy a volume of 24 dm cube or 24,000 cm cube. So actually, if you take a look at this fraction, the actual volume of the gas compared to the total volume of the container, and you calculate the percentage, it's going to give you 0.075% of the total volume. And this just goes to show you that a gas is mainly empty spaces. And when you're talking about 1 dm cube of gas or 2 dm cube of gas, it's not the actual volume of the molecules that are there, it's the volume of the container. One last thing that we're going to be discussing is atmospheric pressure. So this is a pressure the atmosphere is going to exert on the Earth's surface. And generally, like standard conditions that you have are going to be 25 degrees Celsius and 1 atm.